Hello, good morning, or good evening, whenever you are watching this. I hope you are doing well. My name is Catherine, and today we are going over my September reading wrap-up. Yes, it is almost November. We're less than a week away from November. But is anyone surprised I'm doing it this late? I'm not. So my September reading wrap up is going to be a little bit different because when is anything ever consistent on my channel? Let's be real for a second. But it's going to be a little different because I actually already talked about half the books that I read in September in my summer reading wrap up. So if you want to check out that video, you can go ahead and click, pretty sure it's over there. It'll be somewhere either up there, down there. It'll be around, but that will have all the books that I talked about at the beginning of September. So these are all the books that I've read in the second half of September, except for stats. I'm going to go over everything that I read in September. I hope that makes sense. I was going to just combine this with my October, but then I realized how much I read in September, and I didn't want my October wrap-up to be like 5 million years long. So here we are. As I talked about in my summer reading wrap-up, I am not giving star ratings currently. I've been kind of back and forth about it because on one hand, I really enjoyed not giving star ratings because my star rating system was trash, but also that means on Goodreads, I haven't been very good at keeping up with like putting what I finished reading because I feel obligated to then at least write like a sentence when I finish a book, which a sentence shouldn't be too hard, but it is for me because I overthink everything. But with that, I don't have any star ratings on here, so we aren't going to go over that with the stats, but the rest of everything. In the month of September, I read 17 books. Of those 17 books, 12 were audio, 3 were ebooks, and 2 were physical books. Genre-wise, to no one's surprise, it was 100% romance. I read 9 historical romances, 4 contemporary romances, and 4 sci-fi romances. So we are going to do this by genre breakdown, starting with my historical romances. Every single one of these is Tessa Dare. In the beginning half of September, I read her Spindle Cove series, which I really enjoyed. In the second half, I read the Castle Ever After series. The premise of the series is that I believe some earl, maybe duke, something, he died and he left all of these castles that he had in possession to these various women. They weren't like together. He wasn't with these women. They were like family friends. Anyway, point is, all these ladies, they get castles. I love that for them. Starting with Romancing the Duke, this one follows Izzy Goodnight, who is the daughter of the late author of this like very popular kind of children's series. Since her father passed away, she is struggling to keep a roof over her head, but then she gets this castle, yay! However, this castle's already occupied. There is a duke already living there, but something happened. He was like injured in war and now he's like partially blind and he hasn't like been out in the world since. So I think everyone thought he was dead, and so his solicitors kind of just gave his castle away, sold his castle without him knowing it, and he's still living there. So it becomes kind of this like Beauty and the Beast sort of retelling type deal where you have Izzy who is like, I'm gonna live in your castle now, and he's like, no. You got a little bit of that sunshine grumpy trope happening, which I really liked their dynamic. Our hero Ransom was a little bit more aggressive than I tend to go for in my romances, but he goes through some like really fantastic character development. I actually would have liked more development from Izzy. I don't know. I feel like she could have gone through a little bit more of a journey. I did like that she like really learned how to stick up for herself though, because she is a bit of a pushover at the beginning. So she does have that. The pacing was also really weird. Like it went really fast in some places, kind of slow in others. So it wasn't my favorite of the Tessa Dare books. It was still fun, and I really liked the kind of Beauty and the Beast sort of retelling element. I also really liked, my favorite part is that there are fans. There's like a whole fandom around this book series that Izzy's father wrote, and they like full on do like LARPing. So it's like, wow, I love a Regency fandom with like LARPing where they're pretending to be in medieval time. It was so much fun and just really kind of unexpected, and it was like, wow, I love a fandom. That's so great. Book 2 was Say Yes to the Marquess. This one was probably my favorite of this particular series. Kind of. It's complicated. I really like this, though. It follows Cleo Whitmore, who has been betrothed to Pierce, what's his name? Brandon Pierce. There we go. Pierce Brandon. Actually, I don't know. Pierce Brandon. Oops, mix those two up. Oh well. She's been betrothed to this dude, Pierce Brandon, for 8 years. He has been, like, serving the country, doing something. I don't know. He's been traveling all over the place and hasn't really been back long enough for them to actually get married. And she's kind of sick of waiting. And then she gets given this castle. So she's like, you know what? Screw you. I'm moving on. I want to break this engagement. She decides to inform his brother because the families have, like, always been really good friends. So she grew up with these guys, which love that. She goes to inform his brother, his younger brother, Rafe, who then makes it his mission to be like, no, you're gonna marry my brother, despite the fact that he, of course, is in love with her. I love this one. It had such a good balance of, like, emotion and humor. It had that sort of, like, taboo, forbidden romance between, you know, her and her fiance's brother. So, like, ooh, that's not allowed. It is pretty low on the spice level. In fact, I think it has, like, the least amount of spice of all these books, which is fine, whatever. I don't just read books for spice, despite what people may think. It really kind of made up for that with, like, really just sweet moments and fantastic chemistry. I just really love their relationship because it felt real. Like, it felt so real, and I think that kind of was related to the fact that they grew up together, so they have that, like, past history with each other. I do want to put a quick content warning for eating disorders on here. Book number 3 of Castles Ever After is When the Scot Ties the Knot. I just love the rhyming. In this one, I really like the concept. I'll start off with that. So we have Madeline Grace Church, who's super shy, super awkward. She actually got sent to Spindle Cove to help her with her shyness and awkwardness. And there she creates this fake suitor that she supposedly met, who is a Scot who is in the army, and so she writes letters, and that way she doesn't have to do all the, like, coming out stuff of, like, going to balls, things like that, because she already has a suitor. But then she eventually kills him off. Little to her knowledge, though, these notes have been sent to an actual guy in the army, and this is much to her surprise when he arrives at her castle in Scotland now. She gets a castle in Scotland, haha. And he demands that she marries him. So there's that. I really like the concept of the, like, letters, and she, like, wrote to this guy, like, almost as if it was her diary. So she, like, really just poured her heart and soul out to this dude that she doesn't know. And then he turned out to be real. However, this was my least favorite of these ones, and probably all the Tessa Dare books that I've read so far. Just because I don't like the forced marriage, and he definitely, like, kind of forced marriage on her. I feel like a lot of Maddie's agency is kind of taken from her in this one, and it definitely, like, didn't love that Logan, he was just very aggressive and very controlling, and I feel like there was a lot of dubious consent at times. One thing that I did enjoy, though, was the fact that she was very attracted to him when he put on glasses and would read. Like, that's such a mood, like, oh my god, he reads and he's wearing glasses. Funny. I understand that. Also, we do get some really great PTSD and, like, social anxiety rep, and it's, like, discussed in the book. So I think that that's really cool. Just overall, it wasn't, like, I didn't love the relationship. So, yeah. Then we get to the last novella from Spindle Cove. So this is still in the Spindle Cove universe. And this is Lord Dashwood Misses Out. Lord Dashwood Misses Out. This was a lot of fun because we get to see a lot of the Spindle Cove characters come back to play. It's about a girl whose name I forgot to write down, and I don't remember her name at this point because it was very long ago. She wrote this, like, essay thing about this guy who, I think they grew up together. Basically, she writes this whole thing about how, like, she was overlooked and, like, it's his loss type of thing. Very, like, you missed out on all of this. Boo to you. Too bad. And then he comes back. And, yeah, it's a whole thing. Lord Dashwood wasn't my favorite hero. I did really like her, and I like that we got to see a lot of, again, the past Spindle Cove characters. Last of the historical romances is actually a combo of Spindle Cove and Castles Ever After, which is fun. This one I think is my favorite of all of them. Maybe. I think it's my favorite. This is between Charlotte and Pierce. Charlotte, who we got to see a ton in the Spindle Cove series. Pierce, who we remember from like 3 books ago, was betrothed to Cleo. Then she has a thing with his brother. You know how it goes. Anyway, they're at a ball together, and Charlotte's mom, as we know from past Spindle Cove books, is very determined to get her married. So she goes to like warn him, like, hey, you're an eligible, like, titled dude. My mom's gonna try and throw me at you. And then they accidentally get caught in a kind of compromising situation. So the two of them end up trying to figure out who actually was meeting up for a tryst that everyone thought was actually them. It's very fun, has a bit of a like mystery element to it, which was exciting. And I am obsessed with the two of them. Again, we have very sunshine, grumpy type dynamic going on with them. Pierce definitely has like a very like protectiveness and is like only really soft for Charlotte and has that kind of like touch her and you die element to him, which it's great. We love that. They also just have like a really great respect for one another, which I love to see, especially in the historical romances. Sometimes that is lacking. So I love that. Also, this book was just hilarious. And I think that it was a great like crossover of the 2 books and putting them in the same universe. 2 books, 2 series. You know what I mean. Okay, so those are the historical romances. Moving on to contemporaries. We have 3 of these that I am talking about that I haven't talked about before. First one is Gifting Me to His Best Friend by Katie Robert. This is the 2nd book in the Touch of Taboo series. It's exactly what it sounds like. I don't know how else to describe this book. Basically, there is a couple and the guy's best friend, who also has become both of their best friend. They go on vacation every Christmas together. They're in a cabin, and it's a love triangle, but like an actual love triangle. It's basically everything I've ever wanted in a love triangle. I always hate love triangles because, first of all, it's not a real love triangle, and you always know who the girl is going to end up with because it's always a girl and 2 guys. You always know who the girl is going to end up with. Like, it's always obvious to me. This one, we get all of them, and the triangle is closed. I don't know why I'm doing hand gestures. Anyway, this book was pure smut. There's nothing else to it, honestly. But I did also become very invested in their friendship. I thought that their friendship and all their relationship was just really great. So yeah, fun time. Next was Beautiful Bastards by Christina Lauren. I haven't read a Christina Lauren in a hot second, and this one like came up and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Because I was like craving some like office romance since reading The Hating Game. No, I have mixed feelings on this one. This is about Chloe and Bennett. Chloe is an intern at this company and has like worked with this company, and it's a family-owned company for like a really long time. Bennett is the son of the owner of the company. How many times do I say the company? I don't even know. Marketing? I think they do marketing. I'm 90% sure they do. No. I genuinely don't know what they do at this, whatever the company is. But yeah, so she's an intern. He's her boss. But also she's connected to his family in some way. I don't know. Quite a few aspects made me like uncomfy. The boss intern thing. He like controls her like her grade even, like, ugh, I don't like that. It was just a little too much of a power dynamic, and also Chloe's relationship with his entire family was really weird, and I didn't know why. It just was weird to me, and then I found out this apparently was originally Twilight fanfiction. So I feel like that explained a lot. There was like good chemistry between the two of them, and the tension and everything was like super hot, but I didn't like the power dynamic at all. Finally, I read The Roommate by Rosie Danon, and it was really good. I enjoyed it. It follows Clara and Josh. Clara moves from the East Coast to do something. I don't actually know what she's doing. She comes from a very high society family. She's always been in love with her best friend, and she thinks that we're going to spend the summer together. He ends up being like, oh, actually, I'm going on tour with my band. You are now going to be living with this random guy. Enter Josh, who turns out to be a porn star. I gotta say, this was actually pretty tame considering one of the characters is a literal porn star. I expected it to be a lot more smutty. It wasn't. Overall, it was a good time. It had lots of tension, which I really liked. I also really enjoyed the kind of conversation around sex work and also women's pleasure that it like centered around. I thought that was really cool that it talked a lot about that. And yeah, and kind of how terrible like the porn industry is, but also like how valid sex workers are. I didn't love the heroine. I just felt like she felt really naive to me. I don't know. I feel like you can still have a character who's innocent but not quite as naive. Like she just felt so young. It was weird because I'm pretty sure she was like 24, 25. So I don't know. I also really wish that we got a little bit more development and saw more of her relationship with her family because it played a huge part of her character, but I feel like it wasn't explored to its fullest. And both of their stories could have been fleshed out a lot more. But it was still like a good time. I still enjoyed myself while reading it. I just felt like it could have been more. Finally, the last 4 books that I read were the Sci-Fi Romances, and those were Ice Planet Barbarian. I read the first 4 books in the Ice Planet Barbarian by Rosie Dixon, that series. I did a whole vlog, so you can like check that out. So just rapid fire, quick thoughts. First one was a fun kind of introduction to the world. It literally was kind of all exposition and set up the world building. Yes, I said world building for these books. Book 2 was a lot more of like what I was expecting from the books. And it was a lot of fun. It really kind of like hooked me in and was like, haha, you are going to love this human alien relationship thing that's happening right now. And I said, yeah, sure, let's do it. Book 3 was honestly a lot of like plot driven. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It was very plot driven, which was cool and unexpected. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is fun. That one was probably my favorite. And then book 4 was, again, a good time, added a little bit more to the plot and the world around these Ice Planet Barbarians. I 100% intend on reading the rest of these books. So there we go. Those were the books that I read in September that I hadn't talked about yet. So yeah, let me know if you've read any of these books, what your thoughts are, if you are interested in reading any of these books. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to hit subscribe. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and until next time, bye!